Hi there, let's see what's up with the COBRA LASH TRICKSTER. Chaining is a property of a projectile that allows it to bounce after hitting an opponent, and let it automatically target the nearest one after that. COBRA LASH has an inherent bonus equal to 8% more damage per each remaining chain stored in a projectile, meaning the first enemy receives more damage. The follow-through notables, found only on medium cluster jewels, work similarly, but they increase your damage by 15% per each remaining chain. We plan to use 2 or 3 Voices cluster jewels to host 6, up to 9, of these extremely valuable notables. Patch 3.25 introduced a new way to gain tons of ward which we will utilize. Night Grip, Inda's Stand, Faith Guard, Iron Flask, and a good rare body armor should grant you around 2,000 added chaos damage sourced from your 20,000 ward, and that's roughly as much as 4 Covenants. COBRA LASH historically struggled with flat damage, and now that this problem is solved, we can reach absurd amounts of damage, hundreds of millions of DPS. This is a glass cannon variant of the COBRA LASH build, and we're not using Svelin. It's a boss killer and a fast mapper. On top of all the previously mentioned sources of damage, we're making it a critical strike build with the Squire for a quasi 9 link. We don't need a good weapon as all the damage is stored in the gloves, so we can afford to pick up a weapon with no actual damage, but support gems instead. The ward won't protect us, it mitigates only a quarter of the damage. Because of Night Grip, we also have no suppression. The build is fragile, but it does have high evasion with blind, rapid life and ES recovery, ranged projectiles, and it kills enemies before they can retaliate. Clear speed is excellent because the COBRA LASH chains 10 to 13 times. You're good to go with only 2 projectiles. Single target damage is also one of the highest. We're inclined to say it's too expensive for how it performs. It's great, but it cost hundreds of divines. Your goal here is to accumulate as much ward as possible. It's done via armor and evasion on a body armor plus Inda's Stand and increased maximum energy shield plus Faith Guard. This ward is a direct source of damage, courtesy of Night Grip gloves. These are the cornerstones of a build, but we recommend enhancing it with Ashes of the Stars, the Squire, and maybe Ralakesh's Impatience. Faith Guard, to put it bluntly, triples your ward, which is now sourced from global increases to maximum energy shield. It's required. This build is very different with Svelin, and we don't plan to cover all the changes it introduces. Just be on the lookout for block chants from Replica Reckless Defense. The Squire. Socket the support gems for your COBRA LASH setup here, ones that will benefit from a bit of extra gem quality the most. All the charges are great, but you can only generate frenzy charges, and that's on kill only, so if you don't mind the lack of life and low resistances, put Ralakesh's Impatience boots on. Night Grip adds tons of chaos damage to attacks, but makes it rather bad for mitigating damage. Still, it's 25% less damage taken if you have ward, which is often. Inda's Stand is another key item. It transforms half of the armor and evasion from your body armor into a ward. Boost it up with catalysts to make it 60%. Ashes of the Stars amulet increases the quality of all skill gems. For COBRA LASH, that's 3 extra chains at 30% roll. The auras you're using are Grace, Purity of Elements, Haste, or Clarity. On a Watcher's Eye, get the reduced mana cost of skills if using Clarity, Chaos Resistance if using Purity of Elements, and some kind of defensive mod from the Grace pool. The Light of Meaning with increased energy shield per passive in radius will increase your ward instead. Socket it near Ghost Dance. Lethal Pride is used mainly for strength, but you may find some useful notable upgrades too. Socket it near Fervor Notable. Impossible Escape. You're looking for the perfect agony version. With it, you will allocate multi-shot from the shadows and mark the prey. Born in the Shadows, Mistwalker, Opportunistic, Ambush and Assassinate, Deadly Infusion and Unstable Infusion are good passives to gain from a pair of forbidden jewels, but none of them are mandatory. With a clever use of tattoos, it should not be hard to balance out your strength and intelligence. Permanent consecrated and profane ground from Rational Doctrine will be worth the tinkering. Having 3 of Voices would be perfect, but the best ones are too expensive. You can settle on the 5, or 3 extra passives that grant nothing. The most expensive ones save you only a point per cluster, so we wouldn't recommend them until the build is finished. Megalomaniac is recommended. You will probably need something that cannot be found on regular medium jewels, such as Reservation Efficiency from Sublime Form, or Block Chance with Endurance Charges from Enduring Ward. Follow through is, of course, mandatory. You don't have many points to invest in critical strikes, but you can reach nearly 100% crit chance with a Rosethorn Tincture and a Flask for increased crit chance. Capping elemental resistances is trivial if you have Purity of Elements. The most expensive parts of this build are definitely jewels and the rare body armor. Check the prices before you start, these are usually very high. You don't need added or increased damage on a dagger, just built-in support gems, which are all suffixes. If you're using Svalin, look for attack speed, critical strike mods, and chaos penetration instead. Craft the hits can't be evaded prefix, you can't be bothered by accuracy. Conquest Lamella with high armor and evasion is required, as much of both as you can afford. For suffixes, seek basic resistances. On boots, you will need movement speed, maximum life, resistances, and evasion. For the Eldritch mods, seek action speed and increased elusive effect. Rings need to have the crafter prefix for reduced mana cost of skills, and any evasion modifier to benefit from evasion and air's mastery that increases your energy shield if you meet this specific condition. Then, go for maximum life, resistances, and attributes. If you're looking for damage, increased maximum energy shield and critical strike multiplier are the best mods on a jewel. Increased maximum life or critical strike chance are fitting too. One of them has to have the Corrupted Blood immunity, Corrupted Implicit. Follow through from medium cluster jewels is the core element of the build. You can get up to 9 of these notables in total if using 3 voices. Repeater increases your attack speed, thus damage. Use a Rosethorn Tincture with increased attack speed and increased effect, an Iron Flask with increased ward and increased flask effect, a Jade, Silver, Stibnite or Diamond Flasks with increased crit chance, evasion, and reduced effect of curses on you. COBRA lash chains 10 to 13 times in total, dealing more and increased damage per each remaining chain. Link it up with Awaken Chain, Void Manipulation, Energy Leech, Enhance, and Nightblade support gems. Level 4 Enhance grants 2 extra chains, but if your enemies are always chilled, via skitterbots or added cold damage, replace it with Hypothermia support. It should be better. Increased critical strikes, increased critical damage, faster attack support gems are baked into a weapon. Grace grants you an increased and additional evasion rating. Purity of Elements adds tons of elemental resistances and immunity to all elemental ailments. You could replace it with skitterbots to chill and shock, Tempest Shield for spell block chance and shock immunity, Arctic Armor to take less damage while stationary, or Flesh and Stone to take less damage from enemies nearby if you've already sorted out all the resistances. If you have enough mana, you can even add them to the build. Link them with Enlightened support to reserve less mana. Here we boosted skitterbots with Unbound ailments. Withering Step grants phasing, elusive, and applies withered debuffs on nearby enemies. Steelskin forms a protective barrier that absorbs some damage and stops bleeding. Automation triggers all linked skills whenever they're off cooldown. Enhance increases cooldown recovery rate for Steelskin, and at gem level 4 causes Withering Step to apply 14 stacks of Withered at once. That's our sole source of Withered. Arcanus Brand triggers both spells at once while attached to an enemy. These are Despair, which lowers chaos resistance of the enemy, and Tornado. It chases down enemies and deals quite significant damage to them. Whirling Blades is a movement skill that should make you insanely fast as you have a lot of attack speed. Blood Rage massively increases attack speed, grants Life Leech, and Frenzy charges on kill. Use Veil Haste for a brief boost to attack and movement speed. If you have spare sockets, use Ray's Spectre and Guardian's Blessing support in here, combined with a regular haste. The spectres that are reassembled after death are Dark Marionettes from Ritual. Sniper's Mark is your second curse. It increases projectiles' damage and causes them to split on impact. With Mark on hit support, Sniper's Mark is being applied automatically against tough enemies. Level 1 Clarity can be used to lower the mana cost of skills when combined with a specific Watcher's Eye. Kill all the bandits for the 2 extra passive skill points. Soul of Lunaris is the preferred choice. It protects you from projectiles and picks up your performance in packed places. Soul of Shikari is good if your chaos resistance is low, but if it's at least positive, we recommend Abrath instead, as Ignite and Burning Ground are often deadlier. The skill tree is more of a skill branch here. That's because we're saving our skill points for cluster jewels. Still, we should pick up maximum life, increased maximum energy shield, reduced mana cost of skills, a bit of damage, and Whispers of Doom. Point Blank is the only keystone. Allocate mana reservation efficiency of skills, or reduced mana cost of skills as your mana mastery, instant leech as leech mastery, conditional 15% increased life as life mastery, and for the energy shield and evasion mastery, increased maximum energy shield if your both rings have evasion on them. And don't forget to use tattoos that transmogrify intelligence into an increased maximum energy shield, and green tattoos for at least a 10% chance to blind on hit. That would be it for this guide. Let us know in the comments what you think about it. Until next time.